watching Faith World TV. Faith World TV, changing the world with the Word of God.
A very good afternoon, good morning, and good evening from wherever you're watching us. Yes, it's the last show of 2024. And guess what? I'm going to use my favorite word, exciting. Yes, we've had a year of exciting guests, discussing issues that affect us globally, discussing business, inspiring us, and most importantly, helping us to combine faith and business. Now, today we want to talk about something that is very important, not just in your community, not just in the home, but globally. Something that moves mountains, it moves money, it moves projects, it moves families. It's literally, without it, the world is going nowhere. And guess what this is? A very simple word, but it carries a lot of weight. Peace. And so today the topic we're discussing is how can we achieve peace in the world? How can we achieve peace in the world? And also, we can also discuss how can we achieve peace in the home, at the workplace, and everywhere on the street, shopping malls, everywhere that we go. So please stay with us, give us a call, share your views. We want to hear from you because 2025 is going to be a year full of peace. We have to make peace normal. And here with me to discuss this important subject is a peace activist that I have known for quite a while now. He's very passionate about spreading peace anywhere near him and even far away from him. And honestly, I love this brother of mine, with Jamaican background, but of course, based here in the UK. I'm happy to introduce to you the one and only, my incredible brother, Dr. Timothy John Baptist.
Thank you very much. Good
Drum roll.
Good morning to you, Pauline.
Good morning. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well indeed.
You know what? You're very peaceful.
I have to be peaceful. If
Very
you
peaceful.
take on the role of a peace advocate, ambassador, you have to have a peaceful manner and a peaceful approach. So I try as often as I can.
And can I just
live the role of peace.
let the viewers know today when I was coming to the TV station, I was rushing a bit, but there was a bit of a delay, so I felt a little bit some stress coming. But when I saw Dr. Timothy here, you know what? Everything just calmed down because I thought this guy carries peace everywhere. So let me not stress myself and let me not stress you because everything is about peace.
Exactly.
Now, you have this organization called Time for World Peace.
That's correct.
And from what I know is every day at 4 p.m., any part of the world, you want people to observe peace.
Yes.
But I'm just wondering, why 4 p.m.? Why not 5 a.m. when we've woken up? You want a peaceful day. You want your day to run smoothly. Why 4 p.m.?
Well, it's a play on words. It's the words I use is time for world peace.
Right.
4 words. Time, the numerical number 4, that you can see on the T-shirt.
Yes.
World peace. It's time for the world to be peaceful. So, as you say, peace, I'd love peace to occur 24 hours a day.
Right.
But it's really just capturing a part of time, 4 o'clock peacetime. Time for world peace. I mean, if people choose to make peace at 2, 1 o'clock, 7 o'clock, that's fine. You can make peace at any time.
Right.
But why not have a common time where people around the world are reflecting and thinking about something at the exact same precise moment in time. So it's really creating an energy where at 4 o'clock, I'm thinking about peace, you're thinking about peace.
Right.
And you can imagine that impact of hundreds, thousands, potentially millions of people all thinking about the same thing at the same moment in time.
Right. But, peace, as I say, essentially is a very seems like a very simple word, but it carries a lot of weight. And as you know, there's a lot of war going on in the world, and this, some of us may see that does not affect us because we are in a peaceful terrain.
Yeah.
But really and truly, it does affect us. And when we say that it is the government's responsibility to intervene, powerful countries need to intervene. What about you and I? What are we doing? Doesn't peace start from you and I?
Yes.
Doesn't peace start from that dinner table at home?
Yes.
Doesn't peace start from the playground at school?
Yes. And this is where, when I mentioned the word peace, we were talking earlier on, when you mention the word peace, a lot of people switch off. And
it's like it's a boring one, it's a boring topic,
it's never going to happen, but it's made me realize, well, if everybody thinks in that way, then how are we going to achieve this thing that most of us would actually want? So my approach is, as you mentioned earlier on, it starts with me. It doesn't need for a government organization or for the UN or for any kind of leading country and ambassador to say this is how we need to be. We all need to take it on ourselves. So, as you said, I start by making peace with yourself. You need to be at peace with yourself first. And then the next level for me is for that individual then to be at peace with family.
Right.
And family is your brothers, your sisters, your mum, your dad, your cousins, your whole family network. And then the third level I promote is then where you live, be at peace with your neighbours.
Right.
And then if you extend from your neighbourhood where you live, go into your communities. So peace starts with you as an individual.
Yeah.
Secondly, you reach out, you're at peace with your family. Third, you're then at peace in your home. And then you're at your community. And that's your individual world. That's your little bit.
Yeah.
So
and then
my
it spreads
thinking is
outside of your community.
if I do my bit,
yeah,
and Pauline does hers, and individuals around the world just simply focus on your tiny bit of the world. Because when you ask for world peace,
Dr. Timothy, actually, it seems quite easy and simple how you say it.
yeah.
Now, tell me as we speak right now, is your family peaceful? Do we have, because literally, is my family peaceful?
Yeah.
Do we have peace?
People would say yes.
So,
but when you actually, when I ask people, would you like the world to be peaceful? They say yes. But when I ask, are you at peace in your world?
In your family,
your
first
world.
of all. Yes.
But then when you start branching out, well, are you at peace with yourself? But a lot of things, when you say family, it's like, I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
But
so imagine people talking about what's going on in Ukraine.
Yeah.
They're on the streets carrying placards. They're crying about it. Yet in their own home, in their own little corner, there's so much chaos.
Yeah. So I want to take this movement and place it with the individual. We can't be looking at I shouldn't say we can't be looking at what's happening overseas.
Right.
But what we do is deflect from what's going on for ourselves, and we then focus on what's going on outside of our world and beyond. But I said, well, take it back to you. I can't control what's going on in Ukraine and what's going on in Russia and Libya and all these countries where it's a conflict.
Yeah.
But I can take care of my own actions and what I choose to do on a daily basis.
Right.
One of the examples I use is a man will stand up and say, I would like the world to be peaceful.
Yes.
And that man will go home and create carnage within his own home, with his children, with his wife, with his work colleagues or whatever. So I've realized people say one thing, but when they really think about their own behaviors and what they're doing, the answer is totally different from what they're asking for.
So we're still going back to the basics, that it needs to start from you and I
as the individual. Because many a times people try and point the finger at everybody else, and I always take it back.
Yeah.
It starts with you as an individual.
Yeah.
You take care of what you're in control of, and you work towards making your own personal world more peaceful.
So I think that, okay, in some areas, when we're talking about peace, obviously we have to talk about war for peace to reign. There's some areas in this world where, you know, it's forever been wars going on in those areas. Now, in those particular areas, we say let the government intervene.
Yeah.
But what if individuals that are actually involved in these kind of wars are the ones that intervened? Is there somebody benefiting from these wars?
Well,
Because as we say, it's a simple analogy. But is there somebody benefiting why you would take a whole nation, a whole nation's feuding, a whole tribe is involved in war, a whole community
he's involved.
Is there somebody benefiting? Is there somebody that does not want these wars to end? Is there somebody that does not feel that the world needs peace? Is there, so when we say, okay, let's address this from home, but maybe somebody somewhere, I don't know whether I want to blame governments, I want to blame some mafia or some groups of people, but really and truly, it's difficult for us to encourage people to practice peace at home or individually when in some quarters, some people don't want this peace. How do we go about that?
Well, again, I take it back. I mean, you're talking the highest level when people go to war leader. If I ask the question, would that world leader like the world to be peaceful? They would say yes. But their actions don't prove that they would like the world to be peaceful, because their actions in itself is non-peaceful. So to me, it doesn't align. And as we were saying earlier on, there is things to be made out of wars and all the rest, but you know, is it down to money? Is it down to control and all the other things that we talk about? But fundamentally, as an individual, you are taking a nation, a community into war and conflict.
Right.
And what is the gain? And it may be a gain for you, but it's harming another person. It's creating a world that's not peaceful for themselves. So how do we get this balance that you want X and the other person wants Y? And we need to come to a collaboration, where we're supporting each other. It's a difficult, I don't really like to go into that area because I haven't got the answers. How
can you do this campaign every day at 4 p.m. without talking about those sensitive issues, without talking about what involves governments, without talking about, you know, the people supplying the firearms, without talking about the people that are actually executing all of these wars? I don't think it's feasible for you to say every 4 o'clock, let's go, time for world peace. You know, that's the symbol. But you're avoiding that part of conversation. Well, is there a reason why you're avoiding that part?
The reason, I haven't got the answers. I mean, for me to, all right, the answer for me is, if you want peace, you need to not have a war. Other people will argue that, well, you need a war to achieve peace because of what's going on. And I'm not in that position to say, okay, I'm a leader of a country, I'm in that position to say that to my people. But fundamentally, I need it to come back to the individual.
Right.
If we want peace, you need to act peacefully.
Right.
And I'm against war. I mean, there's ammunition, there's money, there's things to be made out of war. But, you know, does war achieve anything? We've had hundreds, thousands of wars over the years, over the centuries. And has it achieved peace?
No, nothing at all.
So something has to change. And again, when we talk about wars, again, we always refocus on the higher level. But when a child at school is being bullied, when
again,
a young man
that's
is
the beginning of war.
So deal with those things first. These things are escalating and escalating. We let it go by. You've got gangs in the streets, and there's groups within one sector fighting against another one. There are animosity between family members. There's conflict with mental health. Now, all these things happening at the lower level.
Right.
But what we do, we look at the higher level, the war. and the conflicts that's going on. But let's take it right back to basics.
Bring it down.
Let's bring it down with respecting each other. You know, no fighting, no violence, no racism, no bullying. The small things, I teach the children, take care of the small things.
Right.
And if you take care of the small things, then they won't escalate into bigger things. And I think what we're doing, our leaders are not taking care of the small things. They've allowed things to manifest and to build,
Right.
and to build and build and not resolve things. And now they're in a position where the next thing that we have to do is go to war. I mean, I'm not an expert on war.
Right.
I want to be an expert on peace and to get people to think about taking actions for peace and taking control of things that they can control.
I know that you do your campaign in schools as well, and you know, with the lower institutions and higher institutions. When you go there, of course, you spread the message of peace.
Yeah.
But again, you're going there to convince them that yes, peace can be achieved every day, everywhere, within any terrain. But as you are convincing them, do you make a reference of what's going on in the world? Or do you avoid it? Because these kids, when they go back home, they see all of these things that's happening.
But again,
Yeah.
we use references looking outside of what's out of my control.
Right.
I'm saying bring it back to you and
Right.
what you can actually do. Because a lot of times I will say to a student, would you like the world to be at peace? Yes, sir. Are you at peace in your world? Well, kind of. But when I challenge them, well, look at the way you were treating that young boy from Romania.
Right.
You in the playground with him every day, you're bullying him. Well, is bullying peaceful? Well, no, sir.
Yeah.
Well, you say you'd like the world to be peaceful, and yet still you're bullying this young boy in the playground every day. And just that conversation and that realization for that young person, wow, I didn't think of it like that. And again, and many times I get into conversations, we want to look at what's going on around the world, but I bring it back to the individual. And you take care of what you can control.
So that's kind of, we're kind of talking about the role of the school. The school and the education institutions in terms of peace. What about the role of religious entities?
Well,
How do they come in? Because seriously, like, we can be having a war blazing next door, and the bishops and the priests and pastors are still they're still preaching the word of God, avoiding what's happening next door, the guns that are blazing next door. What should their role be? Because I don't see them usually coming out strong, the religious leaders. What is their role, really?
Well, again, I can't speak on behalf of religious groups. I mean, I'm involved with Universal Peace Federation and other groups that bring religious groups together from different denominations around the world, and they say, look, we must do something about this collectively. But,
Are
as
you
a
not
religious...
involved directly with churches?
No, I'm not direct.
Is this something that you could take to the
I
altar?
would love to take the message of what I'm doing to every level, country, every school, every
Right.
college, university, religious group. And fundamentally, I don't want to make my work about religion. When you mention religion, people think it's attached to this religion. I'm of this denomination, so therefore I can't accept that because my religion teaches me something. But most religions out there, fundamentally, we promote the word peace. It's about being peaceful with your neighbor and your brother and your family. So I'm taking it to, across all religious groups, across all communities, believers, non-believers. It's time for world peace. And the thing that all connects us is the time. And at a certain point, I would like all religious groups and all people around the world just to reflect and think,
Would that be
who
possible?
could I make peace with
Would that be possible?
in my world? I would say it is possible. We teach children that world peace isn't possible.
Right.
If you teach a child that world peace isn't possible, well, guess what? World peace isn't possible. But if you teach, as I do, children that world peace is possible, and every time you reach out and you make peace with somebody, you've made it possible because you've resolved that conflict between you and the other young person. You've resolved the conflict between you and your dad, or you and your mum, a brother, or cousin. You've done your little bit. So every action that you take in a positive way, we are achieving it.
I'm going to ask you a personal question.
Yeah.
Because you're a very peaceful person. How do you manage to achieve that in this chaotic world? Like, do you not get annoyed or angry with people and,
You do.
throw things out of the pram and,
Well,
and do you not, like, all right, cut people out? Because, the way you're talking is like you don't have anybody you're feuding with. Like, how do you do it? I mean, somebody might be watching and they want to know the formula.
You've mentioned.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, there were times where I need to bite my lip.
Yeah.
I need to walk away from a situation. I need to step back from people because your actions...
You mean cut them out?
Not cut them out, but step away. I don't need to be around your circle because the way you speak, the way you're carrying yourself is impacting on my world.
Right.
So I have learned to just step back from people. Now, people have taken that as, well, Tim is off, he's doing his bits and pieces, he's not dealing with the situation. Well, I've tried to. I've reached out. And the example I'll give to you, which I was thinking about last night, I've reached out to people to make peace with them.
Right.
And they've shut the door in my face and they've had a go at me and you're this and that and all that.
Really?
And I thought, wow, I have come to
Are this
you.
family or?
Family.
Right.
I've come to you with something that's on my mind, something that we need to have a conversation about.
Right.
We need to...
Did you go to them because you felt the guilt, you felt subconsciously or subconsciously, you felt you were on the wrong? Because if you're going to make peace with someone, you're going, in a way, you're going to apologize, right?
Yeah.
So, because you are on the wrong, you recognize. So, the step number one is you recognize that you're on the wrong.
You say recognize the wrong.
Yeah.
I would say I'd recognize that there was a situation going on. Something happened.
Wait.
And I'm not going to go into the detail.
No, but
Go on.
if you're going to apologize, you're apologizing for your wrong, right?
I wasn't going to apologize. I was
right. People want
to
that's the problem
make
there.
peace. We are no longer communicating. I've
Right.
distanced myself from you because of what I've heard.
But how do you make peace without apologizing?
Well, you have
How is
to
that
have
possible?
You have to have a conversation, right?
Yeah, but I think maybe the person is shutting the door on you
Exactly.
because they're thinking, wait a minute, you just want to come and make peace and not revisit what happened so you can apologize?
Okay.
Do you
So
do you
if
see it in that way?
I can see it in that way, but
Yeah.
I think you've misunderstood me slightly. I'm
Yeah.
saying the person did me wrong.
Oh, so the person is the one that did wrong.
Did the wrongdoing, and I tell you how it happened.
So if the person did you wrong, why are you going to make peace?
Because
why are you carrying your legs to the
that I
Yeah.
would like the world to be at peace.
Right.
I am not at peace in my little circle because of the situation that has evolved with you and I.
Right.
I've recognized that, and I am now reaching out to you to resolve what was said, what was heard, and I am now approaching you
Yes.
to have a discussion of this for us to be at peace with that so we can move on. But when the person shuts you down and they don't want to allow you in, they don't want to take responsibility for what they did and said, and they now push it on me, well, I can say I reached out and I tried.
So then are you at peace with that?
I am at peace with that.
So essentially
Even though
what
it's
you were going to
still
do.
there,
Yeah.
but I've actually had to step back and I have to be at peace with it.
Right. So essentially you are going to offer an olive branch
Yes.
and say, look, you've done me wrong.
Yeah.
and I'm forgiving you.
Yes.
Right. Okay. But sometimes we can forgive people without letting them know, right?
You can forgive them without
Letting them know.
Yes, you can.
Yeah.
Of course you
and
can.
then just be at peace.
Just
with
be
them.
at peace with them. And I can see you and I'll be at peace with you and you can be at peace with me. But it's still there. It's still there. It hasn't been resolved. It's still there. But what I'm saying is, each time I reflect and I think, one day I'll go back and I'll revisit that again. I will raise that again. For now, I'm at peace with it, but it's still there in the background. But this is because I'm so focused on this message of peace. and
Yeah,
I've taken
because
it down
you're
to
a
such
campaigner, yes. So people probably expect high levels of peace from you. Like they expect you not to put a foot wrong, and if you do put a foot wrong, then it becomes an issue. And maybe this is what they're trying to do here. I'm thinking because you're a peace activist.
Yeah.
Thinking why would he get involved in this feud if what he does on a daily basis is promoting peace?
Well, it's funny, a lot of people actually use my work against me when things
Right.
happen, and I take it on myself.
How do you deal with that?
To remove myself from there, and I think, okay, let me go. You guys do what you're doing. I'm going to leave, and I'm going to place myself in a more peaceful environment. I don't need this conflict. But the same thing comes back. Oh, you're promoting peace, and you wouldn't deal with this.
That will
Well,
always come back to you,
always
isn't it?
come
That
back.
always come back
But
to you.
that person, again, is not looking at themselves. They're pointing the finger at me. I mean, sometimes I wish if I hadn't got involved in this work that I was doing, then what would they say? But that's the admonition. Well, I can go back to the work that you're doing,
Yeah.
and this is how you're dealing with it.
So, you obviously you weren't born this way, like a peaceful person. We go through stages in life where, we have chaos, we have things going on, we have peace, we have joy, and then we have,
It's a journey.
even
It's a
punching, throwing punches. Now, at what point in your life did you decide, you know what, I'm going for peace, I'm going to be a peace campaigner?
Do you know what? It's a couple of things happened.
Yeah. Like?
The first one, I would actually say, was I lost a good friend of mine when I was 16.
Right.
Died through knife crime
Here in London?
here in London, Peckham.
Right.
I used to work in a clothes shop in Peckham. And I'd buried that for a while. I kind of put it in the back of my mind. And then another time, I was at a party where a person came in and basically destroyed the party, came in with a group of people. But I was on the other side of the room, and I decided I was going to do something about it because this gentleman has come in and basically wrecked the party.
When you say wreck the party, what
He
happened?
was fighting. He wanted to. People asked him to leave. He didn't want to leave, and
Yeah,
I just thought, you know what, I'm going to do something about it. But in my rage, and I saw red.
You mean you're going to deal with him?
I was going to deal with him. I didn't get to him,
Yeah.
but it's only afterwards when things settled down, he left and I calmed down. Then I found that I'd punched my brother. I'd punched my girlfriend.
In the middle of
In
that?
the middle of this. I didn't see, all I could see, I was focusing on that one person.
Yes.
And the people that are around me trying to prevent me from getting that person,
So you just...
I injured them.
You just went wild and hitting everybody now.
And then I took it on myself that I'd never, ever want to be in that situation again, where I'm hurting people around me,
Right.
not realizing I had done, in such a rage that I didn't even remember what I'd actually done and who I'd hurt. And at that age, I decided, I was
How
probably
old
about
were you?
18 at the time,
Right.
and I decided, you know what, I never want to be in this situation again, where I cannot control my actions and what I'm doing. So I've learned when I've seen things or been confronted with things,
Right.
I do not react in that way. I am calm. I try to be as calm as I can, and if need be, I remove myself from the situation. As I teach the children, students, if I remain there and say something, and you say something, and I say something, it escalates and it builds. If I remove myself from the situation where no further words are exchanged,
Right.
it's not going to escalate. It's not going to escalate for me because I've removed myself from that situation. So that I have learned to do that for many years, and there's many a times I've been in situations where it could have gone badly wrong, but I choose to keep my mouth shut and to remove myself from the situation.
So you've been on this journey for quite a while then?
Yeah.
From the age of 18? Right.
And it's really, I would say, this was born after I did a personal development course, probably about 26, 27 at the time.
Right.
In fact, no, I wasn't. I was a lot older. But I would say about 14, 15 years ago is when it dawned on me, well, hold on a second. I'd like the world to be peaceful. I wasn't at peace in my world. Family members, people at work, neighbours. And what I did is I thought, well, if I would like this to happen on a worldwide scale, I need to take care of my little bit. So I made a list of the people that I wasn't at peace with.
Starting from
my family, and I made a list, and I took it on myself at 4 o'clock each day when my phone alarmed. It reminded me it's peacetime. Who could I make peace with in my world? And I basically picked up the phone, reached out to people each time, went to visit neighbours when I was at work, reached out to colleagues that I wasn't at peace with. And I just went through my list until I thought, right, I've made peace with all those people in my world. And I've continued to practice that now, whereby if things happen, doesn't mean I'm not...
Because you're only human, isn't it? There's sometimes things happen, isn't it? And you have to flare up sometimes. Do you?
I don't. I choose not to flare up. Why?
Right.
I have to be in control of my
when you think
actions.
About you are the campaigner,
yeah,
then it just takes you back a bit.
I have to live this, breathe it, sleep it. I have to be peace. I cannot afford to get myself in a situation where I have to be violent, aggressive, and non-peaceful.
Right.
I can't be driving a campaign called Time for World Peace, and I'm seen to be not peaceful. So I will do my very, very best to control my anger, my rage, what's going on, and I need to remain peaceful at all times.
But I don't think people really realize how important peace is, because essentially, if you're not peaceful with your neighbor, you can't be neighbors, literally. If you're not peaceful with the shopkeeper down the road, you're not going to be able to buy any bread or milk from that shop. If you're not peaceful with your teacher, you're not going to attend school. Like, if you're not peaceful with your wife, I don't think you're going to share that bed. So it's a simple word, but we don't get it.
Yeah.
I don't know why we don't get it. Like,
it's simple, but it's
like, even when I'm talking about it now, I feel like people watching think that, oh my God, what a boring topic. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like peace doesn't move anything. But really and truly, take it away, the consequences are grave.
Yeah. You as you're speaking it, I mean, I've been in situations where I've shared it with a cleaner at a school.
Right.
And the cleaner took it on board and went home. He was at conflict with his wife.
Right, okay.
And he
so
went
you're saving
home.
marriages as well. So talk to someone now,
Tim.
Tim.
He went home.
Yes.
And he said, I spoke to a gentleman at work. He's into this initiative called Time for World Peace. And he said, you and I need to make peace with each other. I brought some flowers, and they resolved their differences, and they were fine. And he came back to work, and he explained what he had done. I thought, wow, that's brilliant. And then 2 weeks later, he said, you never guess what happened.
Yeah.
We had another bit of a conflict again.
Yeah.
And my wife then came to me at 4 o'clock to say, Remember when you came to me in this peace thing you were talking about?
Yes.
I've realized I've done wrong.
Yeah.
Let's have a conversation. And it made me realize the power of just one
Sharing
person
this, yeah.
sharing it. I mean, I have hundreds of testimonials where young people have come back to me and said, "Sir, I went home after a conversation. I made peace with my dad. I made peace with my brother." You know, there's young people involved in violence on the streets, and I've pulled one in particular aside and spoke to him about my work, about Time for World Peace, and
Right.
he took the business card, and it changed his life.
Serious.
Yeah.
You saved one young
And
person
young
from the
people
street.
contact me. You know, thank you for the work that you did with me when I was at school. I've not seen you for the last 8 years, 6 years, whatever it may be. And they say to me now, the words and the messages that you gave us and how you worked with us, it's made me the man I am today. And
That's
I
incredible.
always think about you at 4 o'clock and the difference that I can make in the world. So when I first started in it, you feel like you're knocking your head against the wall, but
Exactly.
you can't beat when somebody comes back to you years later and said, "Well, because of you, I've now done this."
Now, you know that this time of the year, there's a lot of family feuds, you know, people breaking up, you know, relationships ending.
Yeah.
People probably are having a little bit too much to drink, and then, you know, the mouth begins to run, you know, with no control. You know, people trying to bring back feuds that they had like 20, 30 years ago. They're still carrying it. But most importantly, you know, there's the family breaking and, you know, the marriages and everything. I mean, if somebody was watching right now, what would you advise them?
I use the acronym PEACE. People, equality, acceptance, communicate, embrace.
Those people,
People,
equality,
acceptance, communicate,
communicate,
embrace.
embrace.
Embrace each other. I say if we do those 4 things, take care of the people first, treat each other equally, accept each other for who we are. Key one, communication.
Communication.
Communication. A lot of things that escalate and become worse because there's not been any communication.
Right. It's been left.
It's been left.
For too long.
And without the communication, your mind creates its own answers. You need to have open dialogue.
You start assuming.
And yes. So you need to have that communication, because had the communication been had, and then communication is a two-way thing.
Right.
So I need to shut my mouth and be open to what you're saying.
Right.
I've realized over the years that I used to blank people off. No, I'm not going to listen to you. But I've realized, well, if I'm not going to listen to you, I'm not going to understand what you're trying to communicate to me, because I've shut you down. So I've learned really 2 years just to be quiet, be still, and take on board listen. And it's hard.
Yeah.
Because internally you want to, I need to say, but you need to. And to me, if it's impacting you in that way, then there is something there going on for you where you feel that I need to cut in, I need to say, well, just be still, listen, communicate, and understand where the person's
we do have a
coming
caller.
from.
Let's hear what. Hello, hi, welcome to the show. Good afternoon. What's your name and where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Lagos, Nigeria. The lady you have to pay her school fees.
Oh, she's always listening to the show. Happy New Year in advance.
Thank you, ma. I'm trying to get to you because my Instagram account has been jacked. I lost one of my keys.
Oh, so sorry about that. So today we're talking about peace. How can we achieve peace in the home, in the world, everywhere? Hello? Okay, I think we have lost her. We have lost her there. So as we were talking, we were saying about, communication is key.
Yeah.
And this is the time when, as you know, it's very common right now. You'll pick the phone and speak to a friend, and they'll say, we've just split up. Oh, we just did it. But as you say, with a little bit more communication,
Yeah.
that split would have been salvaged.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So again, we go back to the word peace, isn't it?
Well, as I say, it starts with you. If there's something going on for you and you need to have a word with your partner, your husband about it, it's niggling, it's there eating away at you, you need to do something about it. And for me, I always use the 4 o'clock peace time. I phone alarms every day at that point. Or what could I do to make my world more peaceful? And I think people would like this thing, peace, but are they actually putting any effort or work or action into creating it? They're not doing it. A lot of people it's something that I would love, it's great, but I'm not prepared.
I know people who are peace ambassadors, but they're very chaotic. They are very, I wouldn't even want to say nasty. They're not nice people. And yet they've gotten their titles, peace ambassador. I'm sorry, and I just look at them and think, wait,
why? How
is
have
it
you
just
earned
a title?
I mean,
to put on your grave or to go with to your grave?
Yeah.
You know, it's as you say, you have to not. It's not about preaching. It's about the right practicing it, not preaching. Because I think a lot of us, 90% of people talk about peace or they are peace ambassadors. They preach it.
Yeah.
So if everybody's talking peace, but then 1% or 0.1% is practicing peace, what's the point?
Yeah. And, I say people need to take action. It's all about taking action. To achieve this, we'd like world peace, but we've got to start with ourselves first. Little bits, you do your bit, I do my little bit. People in Kenya, Nigeria, Afghanistan, wherever, do your little bit. And we all need to practice doing our little bit each day.
If you are on a round table with world leaders, presidents, heads of states, kings, queens, people that, rule the world.
Yeah.
What is the most important message you'd put out there to them about peace?
I would ask them the question as I would do anybody. The first question being, would you like the world to be peaceful? And then the second question I would ask any world leader, anybody, it's always been my approach. The second question, are you at peace in your world?
And when you say in your world, in your home?
I just say your world.
In your,
I just say your world. I don't put any meaning in what it is. I just say in your world. And the response is totally different. But then my approach is then the 4 questions. First, are you at peace with yourself? Secondly, are you at peace with your family? Are you at peace with your neighbors? Are you at peace in your community? The response is totally different. So if a world leader can truly say yes to those 4 questions, and then you as a world leader, you are promoting to everybody else that you must live in the same way. I'm at peace. I'm at peace with my family, my neighbor, my community. I've done my bit. And you can encourage everybody around you to do theirs. But I don't think that's happening. If it was happening, if all world leaders, if they said they wanted peace and they actively worked,
I think the key word there, the key word you just said, wanted.
Wanted, yeah. But you can't be wanting peace, and I may get myself into trouble now, by dropping a bomb on somebody. It's not achieving peace. You can't going home and beating your wife and saying that you'd like the world to be at peace. A young person can't be going to school and bullying another student and say you'd like the world to be peaceful. I challenge many young people and I look them in the eyes and I say, I want you to say that I don't want the world to be peaceful. That's why I act and behave the way I do. Do you know how difficult it is to say that?
To say that. That is very difficult. Even for any leader to say that they don't want I don't want my country to be at peace with the country next door, you know, or I don't want, you know, these two tribes to be at peace. They would never come out and say that, you know, but the actions will show.
Yeah.
So really and truly what the world needs is the action.
Action.
It's the practice. We should stop preaching it and start practicing it.
We need to. I mean, time and time I look at the TV or the radio station and I hear peace, peace treaty, peace communication.
They're
peace
always signing
talks,
some peace.
peace treaties.
It's too much talk.
Well, where's the action behind it? It's
Yeah.
all right. I could sit here and I'm talking now, but if people don't take action, my words don't mean anything. They don't mean anything. It's about action, being it, living it, practicing it, taking action for it, working towards. If I want to become a doctor, I can't become a doctor without any studying at all, you know.
Right.
If I want to achieve that, I need to put in the work to achieve that.
Right. Yeah, that's
And I take it back to the same thing as peace. I would like this to happen. So what is it I need to do to make that happen? For me, but knowing that my actions are not going to impact on somebody else in a non-peaceful way. And I like to keep things simple. People say life isn't simple. I understand that. I get it. But I think
life is simple if you want it.
Yes.
Now we're moving towards 2025. 2024 has just zoomed away. I don't know what you guys have been up to, but I know I've been up to so much good, you know, giving back, practicing peace, not so much preaching peace, because I don't believe in preaching it. I believe in practicing it. Now, as we move to 2025, you as a peace activist, as a peace campaigner, what would you like to see in the world? Most importantly, first, close to us here in the UK, what would you like to see? And then beyond.
Wow, that's a good question. I would love to see families at peace with each other.
Right.
Growing out from that, communities at peace. There are people out there doing work with conflict, with the gang violence that's going out there. I'd like to see the young people dropping their weapons down, not taking a life. The impact of taking a life
But
is very...
that's been going on for so many years.
Yeah.
I mean, in London especially.
Yeah.
And we're talking, well, probably 30 years plus for, you know, considering my age. But every year there's a strategy for this. Really, Dr. Timothy, what is the real strategy to end this, you know, gang crime, knife crime?
I think young people,
Yeah.
we need to get to their heart and their soul. I do a workshop around the impact of the loss of a life of a young person. And when I do that...
With the community or with just the
with-
family
with
that have lost?
community. Well, no, there's a workshop that I do, a program that I run called "Is It Just One Life?" And basically, we talk about the family, the family tree, family structure, and I won't go too much detail into it, but the way I explain it and the way the things that I ask them to do, document, to write down.
Right.
And I do some role exchange. It really takes it to home
Right.
of the impact of the loss of a life of somebody. And I really feel that that element of work that I do can make it's not going to change everybody,
Right.
but it will change the mindsets of a few, and hopefully in turn it will change the mindset of others.
Right.
I mean, I did this workshop recently to a friend of mine in Gloucester. He runs an organisation there, Delroy Ellis, Increase the Peace.
Right.
There were 2 ex-convicts that were at the workshop,
Okay.
and both of them came up to me after it had finished, and they said, "You know what, Tim, if this kind of workshop was around when I was younger, I wouldn't have got into the things that I got into." Because the way I explained it really broke it down, and it was personal to them. and it made them think differently. And that's what I do with the workshops and the things that I do. I get people to think differently. Here's a scenario. What could you have done? So really, I'd love for the work that I do to get out there.
Yeah, to go viral.
To spread, go viral. For people just to stop and think about what they're doing, the actions that the choices that they're making. We all have a choice. And some people would argue that with certain situations you haven't got a choice, but fundamentally we do all have choices. So it's just making the right choice. If you want this to happen, then you need to work towards that, and you need to put in the mechanisms and make the right choices to ensure that happens.
But also for your organization, have you thought about maybe collaborating with the Mayor of London?
It's funny, you know. I've had such times where I could have collaborated with certain people. But it's funny, when you look at them as an individual and what they stand for.
Does that make you hold back?
It makes me hold back, because I, for one, would have to sit down at a table and get to know that person before I put myself in a situation where I'd collaborate with them.
Yeah.
I'm collaborating with people overseas, people that I've known for years, who were advocates, and a wonderful gentleman from Kenya, Fell, who promotes Time for World Peace in Kenya for me. And the other young man, Dishon, who works in an orphanage in Kenya. He promotes it with the students there.
Right.
Solitel, a gentleman in Pakistan, he promotes it there. So these people I've known, got to know them. We have calls, we have conversations, video calls, so we know where we're coming from.
Right.
And for me to start collaborating, I would need to sit down with others, sit down with those collaborators and find out what they're about, you know.
I mean, somebody like the Mayor of London, you wouldn't need to sit down, isn't it? You would probably need to go to his office, and his office can, you know, you can collaborate with his office to take the message viral. You know,
I would love to take the message viral, but you got to understand, communities. Some people like. I mean, we're talking about the mayor. Some people like him, others don't like him.
Yeah.
And if you have the mayor who's driving this, the people that don't like him are not on board with what the message of what he's saying, because they personally don't like it. But let's take the person out of the equation.
So the mayor's
office.
office.
Look at the message itself.
Yeah.
So if the mayor's office were interested, I would very much like to sit down with the mayor and the office and the team.
Yeah.
And let's get that message out there. It's time for world peace.
Yeah. I'm sure, you know, everything is possible if you try.
Everything is possible.
Yeah. I mean, as you said, that the people who will not like him, but we're not talking about the personality. We're talking about the impact that what his office is going to bring. Yeah. So, if, you know, honestly, I know that we're going into 2025 with some goals.
Yeah.
You know, some of us want to lose weight. Some of us want to earn a lot of money. Some of us want to strengthen our faith with God. But really and truly, the whole world need to focus on peace. What do you think?
They do. It's hard. A lot of people, as you mentioned earlier on, you mentioned the word peace and people switch off.
Yeah.
We need to flick that switch.
Switch it up.
Switch it back on again. And let's double our efforts, triple, quadruple, whatever we need to do with our efforts to create peace. And so I say I live it and I breathe it. And some people, oh, yeah, we're talking about peace. But I tell them, I said, well, you're a football player. How often do people sit down around the table and talk about football? As often as they can.
Yeah. So in that conversation, insert peace in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but of course, because, I mean, football hooligans, they would say, I'd like the world to be at peace, and one team is at conflict with another one. You'll fight each other. You will cast aspirations or say things to players on the field which are not peaceful, but if, again, you say you want this to happen, but look at what you're doing.
Interesting. Well, you know, it's been amazing to have you on the show. And, you know, no doubt we're going to be crossing paths, you know, as always, at conferences. But I would really love to work with you to do something practical, something tangible,
yeah.
you know, when it comes to peace, you know, globally, not just here in the UK, because as I say, peace moves every single thing. You know, I'd like to collaborate with you and also bring some of my friends that practice peace, not preach, preach. You know, practice.
Yeah.
I know a lot of them that practice. I know a lot of them that preach as well. But, you know, it would be great to have something, you know, for 2025 and beyond. Yeah.
Well, I'm available. Anything to do with peace, I'm there. Any way I can help contribute, bring people together to make a difference. I'll be
Amazing.
there. I will always be there.
Amazing. So wonderful to have you. Thank you
you very
so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
And to our viewers who stayed with us throughout the year 2024, what can I say? How can I be grateful to you? I don't know. I'll still find the words. Maybe in the beginning of 2025, I'll find the right words to say thank you to you guys. But for now, I just want to say thank you so, so much for staying with us in 2024. And please stay peaceful, stay loving, and also God bless you above everything. Goodbye.
You are watching Faith World TV. Faith World TV, changing the world with the Word of God.